top is legit.
As some of you might be ready to type angrily into the comment section right now, this truck no longer has a headlight control switch. This all feels lethal. I like this stuff. I want to learn more about it, but right now I'm just going, I'm used to sports cars. Is there a Miata around? Hello everyone. Today I'm in the very hot California desert to drive two trucks that are different and similar at the same time. 2024 Colorado ZR2 Bison and the 2024 Silverado 2500 HD ZR2. It's the first time they put the ZR2 name on the HD truck. This little piggy is like a nimble trail runner that competes with the Tacoma and the Ranger Raptor, and this is not a little pig at all. We're out here to see where their abilities intersect, where they differ, and what the hell outdoorsy cows have to do with off-roading. The Colorado ZR2 is certainly the more exciting one for me, and it will get more attention in this video. It's a more manageable size, weighs a few thousand pounds less, has launch control, and perhaps most exciting, a chassis engineer who thought 50-mile-per-hour whoops is a good setting to get to know me.
It can fly here 70 for sure.
Do you want me to go 70 miles per hour? We met 5 minutes ago.
First, I'll quickly go through the details of these, and then we'll head into the desert, first in the HD, and then in the Colorado ZR2 Bison. The Silverado 2500 HD ZR2, a formidable-looking brick that has the clearance, suspension, and protective armor to go rescue your toy should you over-monster your energy. It's available with a choice of 6.6-liter V8. One burns gas, the other diesel, the latter making 70 more horsepower and 500, yes, 500 more pound-feet of torque. Both get a 10-speed automatic. Ticking the Bison box on your option sheet gets you skid plates, wheels, and steel bumpers, which improve the approach and departure angles of this particular stilted house. Colorado ZR2 Bison has a different mission. While it can tow 5,500 pounds and transport the same number of people as its bigger brother, this is meant for adventure, trails, and for the brave or well-insured, speed. The Colorado is all new for 2024 with some very good changes. It's roughly the same size as the outgoing truck, but the wheelbase is 3 inches longer. The 8-speed automatic is stronger now, and the Multimatic shocks have been moved outboard of the leaf springs, which provides better clearance and wheel control. You can have whatever engine you want as long as it's the 2.7-liter turbo, which makes 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Sufficient, but 100 horsepower less than the upcoming Ranger Raptor gets. That said, the new engine does make 155 more pound-feet of torque than the last engine. On its own, the Colorado ZR2 is a very capable truck, but if you add the $11,000 700 Bison package, which is offered in partnership with American Expedition Vehicles, you get quite a lot. The steel bumpers are slimmer. You get taller, wider tires on new wheels. It has power-locking differentials and trick hydraulic bump stops. But my favorite detail is the one that I learned over dinner with an engineer. The new larger DSSV shocks went through 50 revisions before approval. But for the Bison, they did another 39. 39 more versions of the shock perfecting handling, ride, comfort, and performance. $975 pound-feet of torque. Nearly 1,000. So if you want to drag your kids out to the desert and they don't want to go, you can just drag the whole house.
Hey everyone, fall is here, summer is over, it's getting colder, and it's time to refocus on your health, your fitness, and your eating. It's what I'm doing, right? No more summer travel. Get back in the game. And like I've said over and over on this show, one major problem I have is remembering to eat before I get super hungry, right? I get really hungry because I don't eat long enough, and then I end up making bad decisions, whether it's unhealthy food, whatever's available now, or just overeating because I'm so hungry. And that's why I love today's sponsor, Factor. They send us the food, we order it online, there's over 35 menu items to choose from, like this maple ground beef, scallop potatoes, cream corn, and green beans. Boom! And they send it to us. It stays good in the fridge for a week or two, always fresh, never frozen. Heat it up in the microwave, just 2 minutes on high, and I am good to go. That way, when I start to get hungry, I can eat a reasonably sized meal, great for my health. Plus, I don't know if you heard, but my voice Doesn't sound so great today. Fighting a little cold. So I've got the apple beet ginger cold pressed juice, good for the immune system. And actually very tasty. And then before or after one of my workouts, I'm working out 6 days a week, I've got the fall pumpkin spice protein shake. It wouldn't be fall without pumpkin spice something. Factor's got you covered with the pumpkin spice protein shake. Also, pretty tasty, actually. So head over to factor75.com and use code TST50 for 50% off. You can also hit the link in the video description, factor75.com. Use code TST50 for 50% off your first order with Factor. How we doing over here? Oh, it's solid. All this stuff is quite solid.
This truck weighs 8,500 pounds. It is a big Bertha. But the intent of this is, twofold. One, a lot of people do off-road activities and they need to tow something out there. You're going to tow your race car, your buggy, your toy hauler, RV, whatever. And plenty of times I've been to campgrounds where the ground clearance isn't great. So with this, not only do you have the Multimatic DSSV shocks, which are awesome, we'll get to those in a minute, external reservoir, etc., etc., but you also have another 1.5 inches of ground clearance. It's a factory lift kit. You can be a little bit more, you have a little more freedom with where you can go with it. Or if you're going to be a support vehicle for a King of Hammers buggy, which I followed a team that did that, you have the hardware to do it. So right now we're going down some really rocky steps. Now this truck does not have one pedal hill descent control. That's because this uses a lot of hydraulic systems. It's still a hydraulic braking system. It's also hydraulic steering. Ooh, fancy. All of the sports car people are like, how come the truck gets hydraulic steering but everyone else has EPS? So this has hill descent control that uses the ABS system. But going down this right now, my foot is on the brake. This stuff's pretty steep. We're going down drops that are at least a foot tall. One coming up on the right is taller than that, and very hard to see over the hood. This is a tall vehicle, it's a modern vehicle, pedestrian crash standards, etc. But like many modern trucks today, we have these awesome 360 cameras. So one of them is looking down, it's positioned right below the Chevy bow tie and helps me see where that step is as it passes past the bumper. And we also have a 360 camera. If you're a pro, I understand you probably don't need this. Cameras are a relatively new invention on vehicles, so people were off-roading and racing before those existed. But for someone like me, someone who's a beginner, it's nice to have. Something that has often plagued these heavier trucks is the highway ride or the ride around town. They need a lot of spring in the back to have that payload. The payload in this, I think, is around 3,000 pounds. The gas engine variant of this has a slightly higher carrying capacity than the diesel because the diesel engine is heavier, but they have a lot of spring, so usually the ride on the highway is really stiff and bouncy. This was pretty good. The roads around here, we're in Palm Springs, are fairly smooth, so it's not a great test compared to driving on the terrible 405 or something that's really cracked up, but wind noise is quiet. I mean, modern trucks are amazing because they give you a fairly luxurious experience. I like the cabin layout. I think it feels neat and tidy, but really functional. I like these big buttons down here that have a little bit of, fake aluminum below them. Helps you notice where they are. I'm so happy they kept the shifter instead of going to an electronic shifter down in the console. I really don't like those. Speaking of shifting, this has a 10-speed Allison transmission. A lot of gears. It seemed to work fine. Almost feels like a CVT, but not quite. I mean, diesel engine's amazing out here. I haven't off-roaded in diesels much, but I love torque. Put it as low down as possible. Big block V8 EVs are amazing for off-roading for that reason. This makes peak torque, I think, around 1,600 RPM. So we have 1,000 pound-feet of torque, very low in the rev range. Makes it really, really easy to climb up anything, pretty much.
As we ambled along the plain, I found the gauges clear to read and the buttons easy to find and operate. This also has new Jounce control dampers on the frame, or what you might call a bump stop, but we didn't get to test those. Not in this truck, at least.
So
we're gonna be on a mix of terrain today. First, we start out with kind of sandy, wash stuff, a little loose surface, small bumps, no jumps, at least not that we've seen yet. Maybe we'll get creative. That was legit. And then we go through a really tight rock crawl section. It's gonna require all the articulation. Ironic that I couldn't articulate that. Probably gonna be using the rock sliders a little bit and the skid plates. Really makes sense that one of the upgrades you get with this Bison package are these Bison bumpers. They're cut away a little bit, which helps this truck have best-in-class approach, departure, and breakover angles. And they're also steel. And as some people found out, it's much better to drag a steel bumper on a rock than a plastic bumper. These shocks are amazing. Amazing. We're going through some whoops. Using the Multimatic built Jounce control dampers. So Multimatic actually built those in conjunction with Chevy. What's amazing is as we power through, or rather squish through this like 10.5 inches of travel, you get to this point where kind of tense up a little bit and you're like, oh, we're gonna have a big kind of crash between suspension and frame, and it doesn't happen. It's honestly really impressive. The way it squishes quickly at the far end of travel and then just kind of gently lands you. It's like a plane landing on like a bed of cotton. Although that might cause a plane to actually crash. You're just waiting for that big hit, that sharp sound, the sound of something expensive or a salvage title springing to life, and it just goes, it just squishes and you keep going. It's really incredible stuff.
Our sandy transit over, it was time to make like a good Coloradan and climb some rocks. So I zipped up my Patagonia jacket, pushed some buttons to activate 4 low, and locked the rear differential. Just like the other truck, the buttons are really big here. I could use slightly larger font. I mean, you get used to things if you own these vehicles. I do like that they're rubber coated. You can wear gloves, you can operate everything. That's really important, especially as we transition to touchscreens. As some of you might be ready to type angrily into the comment section right now, this truck no longer has a headlight control switch. You can control the brights here, but all of the headlight controls are actually in the screen. A lot of you are mad about that. I'm not mad about that, because the number of people I see on the road every single night driving with their daytime running lights on in the front and no tail lights on, it's at least 5. It's 5 people per night that I see in Los Angeles doing that. It's kind of a bright city, but people think, oh, my DRLs are fine. They don't realize that they're completely dark in the back. So honestly, if everything went to automatic lights as a default, I'm okay with that. And if you want to change it, you just tap this little light bulb button and it's up on the screen, and you can change that as you wish. The wheels are actually interesting because it gives you 1 more inch of offset, which makes this truck have 1 more width of stance. Sorry, 1 more inch of width in the stance department. Huge 35-inch tires. They're so big, in fact, that they can no longer store the spare tire under the bed. That's why it's in the truck bed. It's a short bed crew cab. My kind of truck, I like the size of this a lot more than the HD Silverados. Those have a different job. It's for towing, I understand that. I really like the size of this truck. I like the way it looks. I think it just looks cool from every angle. You know, the Raptor started this trend, let's be real, but it was huge. It is huge. It's, I think, 6 inches wider than this is. Now, I'm a novice off-roader, as I've said. Luckily, we have experienced people that will be directing us, so you'll see me looking or nodding a lot. But this truck has electronic lockers front and rear. It has 1 pedal hill descent control, and a lot of the running gear here was developed on the Chad Hall race team, and they have had a very successful racing career off-roading. So frame, shocks, skid plates, stuff like that is all on the race truck. It's like a orchestra conductor. I'm going up. Whew. That's what skid plates are for. That's what skid plates are for. Now, unlike the HD truck, this has electronic power steering. That has a hydraulic system. And I will say that this motor seems to be less strained in moving the front wheels around. The HD, I could feel and hear the hydraulic motor. I mean, it's carrying a lot more weight. That truck weighs 8,500 pounds, several thousand pounds more than this one. But the EPS systems, when it comes to off-road vehicles, do a very impressive job of diminishing the kickback from rocks and other things. Like, I can feel the front wheels, you know, I know where they're going, but when I hit these rocks, there's no kickback happening through the steering wheel. Whereas with the hydraulic wheel, the wheel was moving around a lot more.
Now, I know when it comes to sports cars, we really like steering feel. We want to get all that information. Here, especially at this speed, I personally don't care as much about that, and it keeps your hands, they don't get as tired at the end of the day, and also there's less risk of the wheel kicking and like breaking your fingers. That's also when you off-road, you want to keep your thumbs out. You don't want to wrap your thumbs in case there's a big movement that is not under your control. Ranger Raptor also has the Fox Live Valve system. Now, no, that is not a contraption that releases steam from Bill O'Reilly's head before they go live on the news and he gets too angry. That is basically an adaptive damper system. So as the truck is driving, I think it's 500 times per second, it's measuring wheel speed and travel and all these different things to determine how stiff or soft that shock should get. Now, I assume truck buyers usually will pick whichever truck brand came to their baseball game when they were a child, but Chevy does say that 1/3 of their customers are from other brands. And that's not just truck people. Car people in general tend to be brand loyal. Now, what's cool is that the Toyota has a hybrid engine, and I've taken the F-150 hybrid off-roading before, and having the EV assist is great. You know, EVs are the best powertrain for slow off-roading in my opinion, because you have the most control over the throttle and the torque. Big block V8, something like that, is also really good. Here we have a 2.7 liter turbo. It has strong torque, but peak torque is at 3,000 RPM and peak power is at like 5,600. So you got to get into the pedal a little bit, feel boost build before it will go over a rock obstacle.
We had been in terrain mode up to this point, but now things were getting even hairier. So we locked the front diff and forged ahead like a brave snail.
What are you doing to me? This feels so dangerous. Okay, rolling slow. Left wheel's gonna go up first, then drop. And then the right wheel's gonna go up, and we don't, nope. And the left wheel goes up. These guys are like conductors. Ooh. I should say it's hard for me to manage the speed with the boost and the torque. I mean, I've been driving this for about 6 minutes, so that's part of why. Watching him going a little left. Oh my God. This all feels lethal. This all feels lethal to me.
After testing the bumper's durability and hill descent control, I went out into the flats with a new passenger, Julio Bombacini. What a name! Born in Brazil, he lives in Detroit, and he is the vehicle dynamics performance engineer for the ZR2. He decides how this truck rides, handles, and flies. I asked to see how the Colorado handled some more speed, and he was happy to guide me and make sure I didn't crash.
Going 30, going 30, going a little faster, all right. The engineer says go. Pretty decent steering feel. It's doing a good job of smoothing out the pushback from the rocks, but I still feel like I know where the front wheels are. And the weight of the steering is nice as well. It's not too light, not overly heavy. Big dip. Wow, that's so nice. It's like dropping onto a really comfortable couch, like just flopping down into a beanbag chair. You know, 2.7 turbo, a lot of torque, 430 pound-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM. I mean, the tires must be doing a lot underneath us because I'm watching us go over these little holes, but we're barely being disturbed at all. God, I just want to off-road race so bad. Not today, don't worry. I'm just saying, in my life. Out here. Woo! Butt came off the seat, but the landing was not too bad. It just settles really quickly. It does the great thing that good sports car suspension does, where it goes over the bump, absorbs it once, and then it settles. It doesn't keep bounding unless there's another bump afterwards.
After establishing some trust, Julio gave the approval to go even faster.
This is so awesome.
Now gonna be some large moves, so
You get spaced out a little bit more.
can try to catch some air in that one.
Like this?
Yeah.
All right.
Those 20. Yeah. No, it's not.
Yep. Revs went up. I think the back
Yes.
came up a little more. There we go.
Slow.
Whoa! Was that too much?
No, that was fine.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That's
That's what we do in validation.
Yeah. All right. Am I a testing engineer now? Said go. That was crazy. And then just land. We then went drifting. But sadly, my rear-facing camera overheated in the 104-degree sun, so I'll demonstrate the slides with this bus. In Baja mode, the truck will allow about 15 degrees of slide, but starts to pull the throttle before you can lose it. Then you can turn all the systems off, which is way more fun, but it won't save you if you overdo it.
There's not many things I disliked about this truck. There's piano black plastic on the center console, which is far from as rugged as a material gets, but as the Chevy people explained to me, parts sharing is a thing. The passenger seat is only adjustable 4 ways manually, and it feels pretty cheap in a $60,000 vehicle. The engine is fine. I don't want to hear it on Spotify, but it makes the truck quick enough. However, while the tow rating could get you and a race car down the road, you'll get passed by a Ranger going up a mountain. Obviously, these vehicles excel in different areas. The HD is a great tool, and for some, it's required. But I would get more use from something like the Colorado ZR2. You can drive it in town, you can tow a little bit with it, and of course, you can take it off-roading at a variety of speeds. Between the offerings from Ford, Toyota, and Chevy, buyers have great choices. I haven't driven the other two, but besides the few negatives I mentioned, this is exactly what I want from a truck. Compact but comfortable, durable, and a pleasure to drive whether I'm on, off, or above the road.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.